Jim Mars, there always seems to be a hidden agenda in something, doesn't it?
Oh, always. You know, in fact, if you go back and look through history, all of history is a conspiracy because the word conspiracy comes from the Latin word conspiri, which simply means to breathe together or to act in concert. And, of course, all conspiracies are not necessarily bad. If your staff there secretly plans a surprise birthday party for you, George, that's a conspiracy, but it's not a bad conspiracy.
No.
So conspiracy by in and of itself is not a bad thing. And in fact, if there's any one good thing to come out of the attacks of 9/11, it's the fact that the word conspiracy has been rehabilitated, because even according to the flawed and unsupported official version of 9/11, it was a conspiracy, right? So,
and of which many members of the 9/11 Commission felt it was a shoddy report.
Exactly. In fact, it's really amazing, but I quote the senior counsel for the official 9/11 Commission, John Farmer, who was a former attorney general. He has written a book, and he says that the findings of the commission are untrue. So this is what really bothers me. Why is everybody, particularly the corporate mass media, just refuse to look at any evidence, refuse to look at anything, and put down anybody who tries to question 9/11 when even their own senior counsel said that the version they gave us is untrue. And in fact, the two co-chairmen of the 9/11 Commission, Lee Thomas and the other fellow, they both have said that questioned their own conclusions. So, I mean, if they question it, and if their senior counsel tells us that their conclusions are untrue, what's the problem with trying to find out the truth about what killed 3,000 Americans?
Well, and you know, back to the shadow government for a second, Jim. This agenda they have, is it possible the shadow government exists without top military officials knowing about it, top political leaders knowing about it?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I mean, all you have to do is look at the development of the atomic bomb. You know, there are like 22,000 people working on that, and even Harry Truman's own vice president wasn't let in on it. You know, they were top-ranking officials and all like that who were never told what was really going on. It's absolutely amazing. In fact, talking about, you know, we earlier mentioned Majestic 12 or MJ-12, with the exception of 3 military men who were on that original Eisenhower briefing document, and that was General Vandenberg, General Montague, and General Twining. Well, Twining, of course, was the one who, in 1947, had issued a report from his Air Material Command at Wright-Patterson stating that UFO, the phenomenon reporting, meaning flying saucers, in fact, is what he said, is something real, not visionary or fictitious. And then you got General Montague. He was on this MJ-12, and he just happened to be the base commander of Fort Bliss at the time when all the Nazi paperclip scientists were headquartered there. His responsibilities also included providing security at White Sands Proving Grounds. So whatever happened at Roswell, he must have known about it, so he's brought in. And then you got Hoyt Vandenberg, who was a CIA director and chief of World War II military intelligence, who ordered the destruction of Project Sign about UFOs. So he had to know about it. But all the rest of them, you've got, of course, Dr. Hunsaker and Dr. Berkner and Lord Gray, and you've got Vannevar Bush, Detlef Bronk, Donald Menzel. All these people listed as these original MJ-12 were not only prominent scientists, but they were all connected to the secret government or to Wall Street or to corporate America, and most of them connected to the Rockefeller Foundation.
And do you think this secret government, Jim, is beyond just this country?
Absolutely.
It's not like every country has its own secret government. I
No.
think there's one big secret government.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that goes back to, if you've read my books, Ruled by Secrecy or The Rise of the Fourth Reich, you understand that these same families, these same financial powers that are centered in Wall Street and in the city of London, they created communism in Russia. They created National Socialism in Germany, and now they are pushing us into Marxist socialism in this country.
It's amazing.
It really is. But what's happening is not that amazing. I mean, because what they're moving towards, in the broadest sense, is the oldest dream of would-be dictators and tyrants throughout history, control of the world. So that's not that amazing. What's amazing is that the American people who, say, as late as World War II, were the apex of freedom and individual freedom and a free press, and how we've just kind of frittered it all away. We've given it all over to them.
If a poll would be taken today about the shadow government, what do you think it would reveal? You know, if Americans, for example, were polled and said, do you believe that there's a shadow government, a government bigger than the government you know? I wonder what they'd say. I would bet the percent might be now higher than maybe 10 years ago.
Absolutely. There's no question about it. And it's higher today than it was even at the time of 9/11, because this secret government, as you call it, I call it the New World Order, boys.
Yeah.
They have now gotten so arrogant in their power that they don't really care whether we know about it or not. Now it's like, what are you going to do about it?
Well, they probably figure we've talked about it so much that they can't stop us, so let's just do it.
Right. And as far as the poll you mentioned, I venture to say that you would probably find a slim majority of this country, perhaps over 50%, now understand that we are being economically drained and we're being stripped of our liberties by this New World Order or by this secret government. The problem is, George, is they haven't done their homework, and they tend to listen 24/7 to the mainstream corporate media. And as a result, they realize something's not right, and they realize that there's somebody trying to take their freedoms away from them, but they don't quite understand who it is or where it's coming from. And that's why we haven't been able to mount any sizable defense against this, or even protest.
When you wrote the Alien Agenda, most of the things we're talking about has to do with the systems that are on this planet that have been going on for a long, long time. But as you mentioned, you're convinced we've been visited as well from out there.
I think the preponderance of evidence, as the lawyers would say in a courtroom situation, shows exactly that. That, yes, there has been visitation, and not only has been, but it's still continuing.
Still happening.
Yeah, there's still cattle mutilations. There's still crop circles. There's still reports, thousands of reports of human abductions. I don't really like that word, but because in my research, I found that for everyone who felt like they'd been violated and that they had been abducted, which is a negative and horrible sounding term, there was almost an equal number of people who said, well, I remember one lady said, well, I felt like I was a special guest, because they've had their minds opened and spirits open to other things. But then, see, the problem is that most of the people who feel like it was a exhilarating or uplifting experience, they don't want the ridicule, so they don't say anything about it. The people that get onto the public record are people who go to psychiatrists, psychologists, seeking help because they feel like they've had a traumatic experience and they want to try to understand what's happened to them. So they go seek help and encounter groups and support groups, and they get on the public record. So